Most people miss the moment everything changes, not because it never happens, but because it happens quietly. A look held a second too long, a message that didn't have to be sent but was, a pause where she waits to see if you will step forward. Here's the truth most men never hear. When a woman likes you, she rarely says it out loud. She shows it in subtle choices, emotional risks, and silent consistency. And if you don't recognize the signs, you don't just miss a signal, you miss a connection that may never come again. Stay with me till the end, because once you see this, you'll never miss it again. Comment your location and tell me where you're watching from. Subscribe for deeper insight, clarity, and confidence. When a woman genuinely likes you, her attention doesn't become louder. It becomes sharper. This is where most people get confused. They're waiting for dramatic signals, bold confessions, or obvious flirtation. But real interest doesn't announce itself, it concentrates. Psychologically, attention is one of the most expensive currencies we have. We give it instinctively to what matters, to what feels emotionally relevant. So, when her attention becomes selective, and you consistently fall within that focus, something important is happening beneath the surface. You'll notice it in small, almost forgettable moments. She remembers details you assumed were insignificant. Something you mentioned casually weeks ago suddenly comes back in conversation. She notices shifts in your mood before you explain them. In group settings, her body may be turned toward you even when others are speaking. These aren't rehearsed behaviors. They're automatic, and that's the key distinction. Attraction that's forced looks exaggerated. Attraction that's real looks effortless. From a psychological perspective, this is attentional bias at work. When someone is emotionally invested, their mind filters the world differently. You stand out without competing. You're not trying to be impressive, you simply register. And when someone registers you consistently, it means you occupy mental space when you're not physically present. That's not casual interest, that's emotional relevance. Philosophically, attention reveals value. We move toward what we find meaningful, even when we try not to. So if she makes time for you when she doesn't have to, if she engages when silence would be easier, if she chooses presence over convenience, she's making a quiet statement about where you rank in her internal world. This is especially telling in today's culture of distraction. Time is scarce, focus is fragmented. Anyone who gives you sustained attention is making a choice. But here's the part many people miss. Selective attention doesn't always look intense. Sometimes it looks calm, familiar, safe. She may not overwhelm you with energy. Instead, she creates continuity. She checks in, she follows up, she keeps the thread alive. This consistency is often mistaken for friendliness, but psychologically it's far deeper. Friendship doesn't require emotional tracking. Interest does. And if you're wondering why she hasn't said anything directly, understand this. Attention is often the test before vulnerability. She's observing how you respond to being chosen quietly. Do you notice? Do you respect it? Do you meet it with clarity? Or do you overlook it and force her to escalate alone? Attraction doesn't just look for chemistry. It looks for awareness. So the question isn't whether she likes you. The question is whether you're paying attention to the attention she's giving you. Because when someone consistently chooses you without being asked, they're offering more than interest, they're offering opportunity. And the people who recognize that don't wait for certainty, they act with intention. When a woman likes you, she rarely moves straight toward confession. Instead, she creates openings, small emotional doorways, and watches to see if you recognize them. This isn't manipulation. It's human psychology. Emotional exposure carries risk, and most people test safety before they test honesty. So rather than saying how she feels, she invites you into moments where feeling becomes possible. You'll notice this when conversations shift from facts to meaning. She asks questions that don't have quick answers. She wants to know what you think, not just what you do. She shares stories that reveal uncertainty, past disappointment, or personal values. These aren't accidental disclosures. They are calibrations. She's gauging your emotional intelligence, your presence, and your ability to hold space without rushing to fix or impress. Psychologically, this is how trust is built. Attraction alone isn't enough. The nervous system looks for regulation. When she opens up even slightly, she's observing how you respond under emotional weight. Do you listen or do you perform? Do you stay grounded or do you retreat? Your reaction becomes data. And if she continues to open up, it's because the data is positive. There's also something philosophical happening here. Vulnerability is an invitation, not a demand. By sharing parts of herself, she's offering you a choice. You can meet her with awareness, or you can overlook the moment entirely. Most people miss it because they're waiting for clearer signals. But clarity often comes after courage, not before it. Emotional openings are the quiet form of courage. Sometimes these openings look like humor. She teases, jokes, or shares something slightly embarrassing. Laughter lowers defenses. It creates intimacy without pressure. Other times it looks like seriousness late, night conversations, reflective pauses, or moments where she asks, "Can I tell you something?" Each version serves the same purpose, to see if emotional connection is safe with you. What's important to understand is that these moments are intentional, even if they feel spontaneous. She's not asking for reassurance, she's assessing resonance. Can you sit with depth without forcing direction? Can you acknowledge emotion without escalating it prematurely? This balance is rare, and it's deeply attractive, and here's where many people sabotage themselves. They either ignore the opening, treating it as casual conversation, or they overstep, turning vulnerability into pressure. Both miss the point. The correct response is presence, recognition, a calm signal that says, "I see you and I'm here." That's how emotional connection stabilizes. If she continues creating these openings, it means she feels something growing, and she's giving you the opportunity to grow with it. She's not asking you to read her mind. She's asking you to read the moment. So remember this, when someone lets you into their inner world before giving you their words, they're not being unclear. They are being careful. And the ones who understand that don't chase signals. They respond to meaning. One of the most reliable indicators of genuine interest is not intensity, but consistency. When a woman likes you, her behavior stabilizes. It becomes predictable in a way that feels grounding rather than repetitive. This is where attraction moves out of fantasy and into reality. Feelings that are fleeting fluctuate. Feelings that are real organized behavior. They show up as reliability, responsiveness, and quiet support over time. You'll notice this in how she responds when she doesn't have to. She answers messages even when the conversation has no immediate payoff. She checks in without being prompted. She remembers important moments and follows up later, not because it's impressive, but because it matters to her. From a psychological standpoint, this is attachment forming. When someone begins to integrate you into their emotional landscape, your presence becomes relevant even in your absence. Support is another subtle but powerful signal. She encourages your goals, validates your ideas, and listens when you speak about things that matter to you. This doesn't always look like praise. Often it looks like attentiveness. She asks questions. She stays engaged. She wants to understand how you think and where you're headed. Philosophically, support is alignment. It's the act of placing oneself alongside another person's direction in life. What's important to recognize is that this kind of behavior is not performative. She's not trying to win you over. She's responding naturally to emotional investment. When interest is genuine, effort feels effortless. There's no scorekeeping, no inconsistency designed to provoke a reaction, just presence that repeats itself. Many people overlook this because they're conditioned to associate attraction with unpredictability. They mistake emotional chaos for passion, but stability is not the absence of desire, it's the presence of trust. When she feels emotionally safe with you, her nervous system relaxes, and relaxed interest is often deeper than anxious intensity. You'll also notice mirroring. She adapts to your rhythm. If you're thoughtful, she becomes reflective. If you're playful, she meets that energy. This isn't imitation, it's resonance. Humans naturally synchronize with those they feel connected to. Consistency combined with mirroring creates emotional coherence, and coherence is one of the strongest foundations of connection. The key here is time. Anyone can be enthusiastic briefly. Very few people are consistently supportive without expectation. If she shows up during neutral moments, not just exciting ones, that's significant. It means you're not just an emotional spark, you're becoming an emotional constant. But this only matters if you recognize it. Consistency invites response. When you meet reliability with clarity and intention, attraction has space to grow. When you ignore it or take it for granted, it quietly fades. So reflect on this. Intensity may catch your attention, but consistency earns your trust. And the relationships that last aren't built on moments that surprise you, but on patterns that choose